Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vana Chari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Narancheva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nasta Presu Apatreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavaiti Naishtiki. Hare Krishna, good morning everyone. Before we start, please give me your blessings that we can have some insightful discussions on Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we are going to read from the chapter 1, the activities of Maharaj Priyavrata, text number 34 and 35. I think you don't have the verses there. I think it's a verse, maybe it's a prose, I don't know, but anyways, then I will just chant myself. Text 34. Tuhitaram charyasvatim namosanayasa prayachat yasyam ashit devayani nama kavya sutta. So this is text 34. King Priyavrata then gave his daughter Urjasvati in marriage to Sukracharya, who begot in her a daughter named Devayani. Text 35. Naivam vida purushakara urukramasya pumsham tat angri rajasa jita satgunanam chitram vidura vigata shakrita atatita yan namadeyam aduna sa yahati bandam. Na. So we will do the word by word. Na. Not. Evam. Vida. Like that. Purushakaraha. Personal influence. Urukramasya. Of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pumsam. Of the devotees. Tat Angri. Of his lotus feet. Rajasa. By the dust. Jita Satgunanam, who have conquered the influence of the 6 kinds of material whips, who have conquered the influence of the 6 whips. Chitram, wonderful. Vidura Vigata, the 5th great person, or the untouchable. Sakrit, only once. Adatita, if he utters. Yat, whose. Namadeyam, holy name. Aduna, immediately. Sa, he. Yahati, gives up. Bandham, material bondage. Translation and purport given by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. My dear King, a devotee who has taken shelter of the dust from the lotus feet of the Lord can transcend the influence of the 6 material whips, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age and death, and he can conquer the mind of mind and 5 senses. However, this is not very wonderful for a pure devotee of the Lord, because even a person beyond the jurisdiction of the 4 castes, in other words, an untouchable, is immediately relieved of bondage of material existence if he utters the holy name of the Lord even once. Purport. Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit about the activities of King Priyavrata. And since the king might have had doubts about these wonderful, uncommon activities, Shukadeva Goswami reassured him, "My dear king," he said, "don't be doubtful about the wonderful activities of Priyavrata. For a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything is possible, because the Lord is also known as Urukrama." Urukrama is a name of Lord Vamanadev, who performed the wonderful act of occupying the 3 worlds with 3 footsteps. Lord Vamanadev requested 3 paces of land from Maharaj Bali, and Maharaj Bali agreed to grant them. The Lord immediately covered the entire world with 2 footsteps. For his 3rd step, he placed his foot upon Bali Maharaj's head. Sri Jayadeva Goswami says, Chalayasi Vikrama Balim Adbhutam Vamana Padanaka Nirajanita Jana Pavana Keshavatruta Vamana Rupa Jejakati Sahare. All glories to Lord Keshava, who assumed the form of a dwarf. O Lord of the universe, who takes away everything inauspicious for the devotees. O wonderful Vamanadev, you tricked the great demon Bali Maharaj by your steps. The water that touched the nails of your lotus feet when you pierced through the covering of the universe purified all living entities in the form of the river Ganges. Since the Lord is all-powerful, he can do things that seem wonderful for a common man. Similarly, a devotee who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord can also do wonderful things, unimaginable to a common man. By the grace of the dust of those lotus feet. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore teaches us to take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam budau. Kripaya tava pada pankacha stida tuli sadrisham vichintaya. O son of Nanda Maharaj, I am your eternal servant, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet. Lord Chaitanya teaches us to come in touch with the dust of the Lord's lotus feet, for then there will be undoubtedly be all success. Because of material body, every living entity in material existence is always disturbed by Satguna, 6 whips: hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, invalidity, and death. Furthermore, another Satguna are the mind and 5 sense organs. Not to speak of sanctified devotees, even a Chandala, an outcast who is untouchable, is immediately freed from material bondage if he utters the holy name of the Lord even once. Sometimes caste Brahmanas argue that unless one changes his body, he cannot be accepted as a Brahmana. For since the present body is obtained as a result of past actions, one who has in the past acted as a Brahmana takes birth in a Brahmana family. Therefore they contend, without such Brahmanical body one cannot be accepted as a Brahmana. Herein it is said, however, that even Vidura Vigata, a Chandala, a 5th class untouchable, is freed if he utters the holy name even once. Being freed means that he immediately changes his body. Sanatan Goswami confirms this. Yada kanchanatam yati kamsyam rasa vidanata tata diksha vidanena dvichatvam jayate nirnam. When a person, even though a Chandala, is initiated by a pure devotee into chanting the holy name of the Lord, his body changes as he follows the instructions of the spiritual master. Although one cannot see how his body has changed, he must accept on the grounds of the authoritative statements of the Shastras that he changes his body. This is to be understood without arguments. This verse clearly says, Sa yahati bandham. He gives up his material bondage. The body is a symbolic representation of material bondage according to one's karma. Although sometimes we cannot see the gross body changing, chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord immediately changes the subtle body. And because the subtle body changes, the living entity is immediately freed from material bondage. After all, changes of the gross body are conducted by subtle body. After the destruction of the gross body, the subtle body takes the living entity from the present gross body to another. In the subtle body, the mind is predominant, and therefore, if one's mind is always absorbed in remembering the activities or the lotus feet of the Lord, he is to be understood to have already changed his present body and become purified. Therefore, it is irrefutable that a Chandala or any fallen or low-born person can become a Brahmana simply by the method of bona fide initiation. Om Akyana Timirandasya Jnananshala Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Nama Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stabidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamakyam Tadadi Swapadantiham Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamalam Shri Urum Vaishnavamsta Shri Rupam Sakrajadam Sakana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvedam Savatutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sakana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sri E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatirupyasya Kripa Sindhupyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ye Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yeah. Anyways. So again, translation. My dear king, a devotee who has taken shelter of the dust from the lotus feet of the Lord can transcend the influence of the 6 material whips, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death, and he can conquer the mind and 5 senses. However, this is not very wonderful for a pure devotee of the Lord, because even a person beyond the jurisdiction of the 4 castes, in other words, an untouchable, is immediately relieved of bondage of material existence if he utters the holy name of the Lord even once. So we are discussing the activities of Priyavrata, and Shukadeva Goswami says the activities of Priyavrata, they are wonderful, and he is answering a question with this, to a question which Parikshit Maharaj asked in the beginning of the chapter. Namely, Parikshit Maharaj, he was wondering, Priyavrata, he is a self-realized person, he is full Krishna conscious, how can he now enter and engage in worldly activities? How is this possible for a fully Krishna conscious person to engage in mundane worldly activities? And Parikshit Maharaja was in doubt, how can both come together? So now then Shukadeva Goswami, he explained some of the activities and says, actually this is the wonderful qualities of the pure devotees. Srila Prabhupada says, we should not be surprised if someone leaves the movement, but we should be surprised if he stays. in the moment. And why does he say it? Because the external force, the material energy is so strong, it will always take us away. And it is more surprising if one actually stays Krishna consciousness than if he leaves. And if we continue this thought, we can actually say of all the devotees who are Krishna conscious, those who go outside, live in this outside world, and still can remain Krishna conscious, this is probably even more surprising. And why is it so? Because if you live in the outside world, the 6 whips, the Satguna, which is mentioned here, hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death, they are always whipping you in the face and in the body. Huh? Prabhupada says the 6 whips, it can also mean the mind and the senses. And just some weeks ago, when Krishna Kshetra Maharaj was here, he spoke about the 6 co-wives, and he also mentioned they can mean the 6 enemies, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsarya. So these whips, these 6 whips are always waiting outside to beat us. And if you are living inside the temple, you should feel very grateful, because inside the temple, these 6 whips, they are not so much influencing you. But if you go outside, they are very prominent. Narada Muni once asked Krishna, who is your favorite devotee? And Krishna says, on this earth, there is a farmer, he's my favorite devotee. Narada Muni thought, what? A farmer? He's your favorite devotee? He may be expected that he says, you Narada, you are my favorite. So Narada Muni, he goes to the earth and visits this Brahmana, and he observes what he does. He's a farmer. When he wakes up, he chants once the holy name of the Lord. Then he's farming, doing agriculture. And when he goes to bed, he chants once the holy name of the Lord. And that's it. Narada Muni thinking, I am chanting constantly Krishna's name. This farmer chants just twice. How is he Krishna's favorite devotee? So he comes back to Krishna and complains. Please explain to me. Krishna says, yes, sure, but before that, I have just one task for you. Here is a pot of oil. Take this with you. Walk around the world and don't spill one drop of the oil, and come back to me. So Narada Muni takes the pot, circumambulates the earth, comes back, fulfills the task. He hasn't spilled any drop of oil. And then Krishna and Narada Muni says, now I have fulfilled your task, please explain. And Krishna says, during this process, how much have you thought of me? Narada Muni says, sorry, I didn't think of you even once. I was focused on this task of not spilling the oil. And Krishna says, see, you just had this one simple task. You could not remember me. But this farmer, he has so much work to do. He chants only twice my name, but during whole day when he's farming, he's remembering me. During engaged in these very difficult duties, he's remembering me. Therefore, he's my favorite devotee. So this is the question, exact same question Parikshit Maharaj asks to Sukadeva Goswami. How is it that someone who is Krishna consciousness can engage simultaneously in worldly activities? Can this come together? And then Sukadeva Goswami starts narrating all these wonderful activities, Adbhutam, wonderful activities of this devotee. And learning how Priyavrata lives in this world, we can also learn how to engage in worldly activities, still be in Krishna consciousness. For example, one of his qualities starts already. He's a very humble personality in the sense he is not hankering for high positions in this world. Narada Muni, Swayambhu Manu, and then Brahma came to him and said, we have a great task for you. Please accept this. only then Priyavrata accepts that great high position of a king. But otherwise he was always satisfied with whatever activities he was doing. He was not hankering for high positions because he was very humble. And he understood that high positions, high responsibilities, these are given by superiors. And this is not, we cannot take high position by our own wish. We cannot hanker for them. High superiors, they give us these high tasks. And he embodies this phrase that a good leader is a good follower. Because Priyavrata was a good follower, he could then become also a good leader. Because he always saw himself as a servant. He engaged in all worldly activities. He ruled the kingdom, but the Bhagavatam explains, even while he was engaged in worldly activities, he still always remembered the lotus feet of Krishna. That's wonderful. So we have a quality of Priyavrata, which is very wonderful, very humble. We have another quality of Priyavrata. He's always remembering the lotus feet of Krishna, even though he's engaged in all these worldly activities, which is very wonderful. Another wonderful trait of Priyavrata in his life, and this is probably the most astonishing for our time, is that he has a marriage that actually works. This we don't see in today's world anymore, but he is a marriage which is successful. A marriage where the wife and husband, they are complementing each other, supporting each other in their way, such a way that both of them, they advance materially and spiritually. And this is probably nowadays time a big wonder how this is possible. So he shows the proper way of entering marriage. And some verses before, we discussed another wonderful activity of Priyavrata, and this is probably very strange to understand, that he wants to have sunlight in all over Bhumandala, so he creates a second sun. He takes his chariot and also circumambulates the orbit of the Surya, which is to think about very crazy. I mean, who comes to this idea? But in this way, he performs also a very wonderful activity. This is probably very difficult to understand what is the benefit of this, but I just thought he's circumambulating with his chariot. The rims of the chariot, they make an impression on Bhumandala. They make these trenches on Bhumandala, and these trenches then become filled with liquid, with different kinds of water and, I don't know, sugar cane and milk, I think, yogurt. So all these trenches, they are filled with liquid. And I was thinking that actually Priyavrata, he's showing us how we can use the earth in a sustainable way. How we can cultivate the earth in a way that she gives us sustainable resources. I was just thinking, the Pandavas, they got Khandava Prastha. They divided the Hastinapur and they got the land of Khandava Prastha, which was a dry land which you could not do anything on it. But Krishna showed them how to cultivate the land with proper water and rain, and made them flourish the land. I know in Tamil Nadu, in general in India, they have a problem of water, and in Tamil Nadu, what they did, they have the Kaveri river, which flows through Sri Rangam, and after Sri Rangam, already in ancient times, they have split the river in a very, very remarkable way, that the river split it in many, many different banks, and a big area of Tamil Nadu is now flourishing because of the river, the way they actually diverted the river. And I was thinking, like Priyavrata, he's doing these trenches, he's showing us how we can use the earth in a sustainable way where we can produce goods and agriculture on this world. This is very wonderful. He's showing us how we can use Mother Earth. And while doing all these things, he was always 100% Krishna conscious. This is very wonderful. If I may also personally share my personal feelings to Priyavrata, I think for me, he's kind of the most relatable personality of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because when I read his pastime, I was in the beginning of my university times, and I could relate very much with him, because somehow I think everyone can relate with him, because you are thrown into this pool of material world and so many responsibilities come to you. And most of the responsibilities you didn't even have asked for it. You didn't want to have, but they came to you from family, from friends, relatives, work, etc., and temple. And now you wonder, how shall I act on it? Shall I just escape, or shall I take up this responsibility? How is it the proper way? And reading Priyavrata's story shows us how also this person, he didn't want to have anything, he just wanted to be Krishna conscious. And now this big responsibility comes to him of ruling the kingdom. And he shows us, despite these responsibilities, how to take up these responsibilities and to act on it. And I think this is a very, very relatable personality. I think in our movement, we have very nicely already established Brahmachari ashram. We know how a Brahmachari ashram should look like, how people should be trained. The movement also has established a nice sannyas ashram. We now know how sannyasis should behave and work. But the missing point is always the grahastha ashram and the vanaprastha ashram. And I think this is probably the next big step what this movement has to do and need to establish, because the world, the biggest demand in this world is to show them how to live in this outside world. They don't know this, and as a movement, it's our responsibility to show them how you can live responsible a grahastha and a vanaprastha life. And I think even if we observe our friends and devotees, we see that is the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is when they transition from brahmachari or from temple life to the outside world. When they make this step, when they move from the temple outside, go outside, they face the biggest challenge. And this transition, either they manage it, they master it, and they proceed and progress very nicely in their devotional life, or they just end up in these heavy responsibilities, don't know how to respond, and then forget Krishna consciousness. So this is the biggest challenge, I think, the movement we have to show them. And this is the art of living at the end. We have to show them the art of living of Krishna consciousness, a Krishna conscious life in this outside world. So we have read all these wonderful qualities, activities of Priyavrata, but now also Shukadeva Goswami says, these are wonderful activities, but wait, actually, these are not at all so wonderful. These are not really wonderful, because for a pure devotees, these activities he can just do. For him, this is nothing. For him, this is kind of common activity. For a pure devotee, he can act in the outside world or inside in a protected community. He will always remain Krishna consciousness. For him, this is not a difficulty. He says, because even a person born of low qualities, if he utters once the holy name of the Lord, he can become to this position where he can manage all these worldly activities and be Krishna conscious. So actually, this is not at all very wonderful. A devotee is capable of doing much more wonderful activities than just living outside and be Krishna consciousness. Once I don't know the reference of this story, but Atmanivedana Maharaj explains this, and I think this happened in Vrindavan. They invited a magician to Srila Prabhupada, and the magician showed many tricks to him. And then he made many coins disappear, and all the devotees thought, now it's okay, let's stop, this is a sadhu. And then the magician asked to Prabhupada, can you also show me some magic trick? And then Prabhupada said, just look around, you see my disciples, this is the real magic. Can you, with your magic, disappear all the 4 problems of material life? Probably not, but I can. I did it through my disciples, and you see, this is the real magic. But Prabhupada, this is actually the really wonderful activities of the devotees, that they can turn this place into a Krishna conscious place. There is one paragraph in Prabhupada Lilamrita where Satswarup Das Goswami very nicely describes the wonderful activity what Prabhupada actually did. And I want to read to you this paragraph. He writes, after Prabhupada spending 1 year in America, struggling very much, all the winter, didn't get proper programs, just programs at some Mayavadis, had problems with some of his co-members who lived with him. So he's struggling for 1 year, and now he's coming to 26th 2nd Avenue, and somehow the movement is picking up. Somehow people come together, chant, and they go first time outside, I think, to Tompkins Square Park, and then chant outside the glories of the holy name. And then Satswarup Goswami, he writes this very wonderful paragraph. If it were risky for a 71-year-old man to thump a drum and shout so loud, then he would take that risk for Krishna. It was too good to stop. He had come far from Vrindavan, survived the non-Krishna yoga society, waited all winter in obscurity. America had waited hundreds of years with no Krishna chanting. No Hare Krishna had come from Thoreau's or Emerson's appreciations, though they had pored over English translations of the Gita and Puranas. And no Kirtan had come from Vivekananda's famous speech on behalf of Hinduism at the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893. So now that he finally had Krishna Bhakti going, flowing like the Ganges to the sea, it could not stop. In his heart, he felt the infinite will of Lord Chaitanya to deliver the fallen souls. So we now see the real Adbhuta, the real wonder what the devotee can do. Namely, he can deliver all the fallen souls. And how did Prabhupada do it? It's also part of today's verse. What's the magic which he brought? The holy name. The holy name is the most wonderful, magical object we have in this world. Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mahani ki, Kornitai ki. Of course, the prasadam is also wonderful, and we might think that is more wonderful sometimes, but prasadam takes to one level, but the real prasada, the real mercy is the holy name. Because the holy name is the solution for everything. Sometimes, when someone asks a question, we don't know the answer, then we say, just chant the holy name. And we think, I could not give him a proper answer. But actually, that is the proper answer to all the problems. That is the answer. Why? Because it cleanses the deep core of our heart, where all the problems starts. And when the heart is cleansed, our subtle body transforms. And when our subtle body transforms, our gross body transforms. And this is what we read also in the purport. how Sanatana Goswami describes how the subtle body changes the gross body. And since the holy name purifies the core heart, it is the core solution for all problems. I just want to, maybe we go before going to the holy name, just want to mention also about the wonderful activities at Buddha and how Prabhupada showed what a devotee can do. My family, they are from Sri Lanka, and our family in Sri Lanka, it's a Shiva Bhumi. Many are actually devotees of Lord Shiva, and Vaishnavas are the minorities. So our families was kind of a minority, and my grandparents, they preached there. They want to bring the glories of Krishna, and then they hear the message that a saint from India has gone to the West and is preaching there. And they heard, oh, a saint has gone there and is preaching there. And my father would tell how my grandfather would tell this, said he was so amazed, that they went to the West. And then my grandparents, they have an ashram, they will have many kirtans and prasadam, and one day, it's Yafna, Shiva Bhumi, and then they hear in the streets chanting and dancing of Krishna's name. They were wondering, who is this? Who is doing this, chanting Krishna's name in the street? Who is doing this? And they go outside, they see one Sri Lankan boy and 3 Westerners. And this, they said, was the most wonderful thing they could imagine. Couldn't imagine Westerners in Western clothes coming to Sri Lanka, chanting the holy name of the Lord. And they said, goosebumps, And I was just realizing, now we know the movement has spread all over the world. This happened in 76 at that time, and ISKCON was not yet established there. Now we know Hare Krishnas all over the world, and now we take it for granted, but this is actually Adbhuta, what we have here, the Krishna temple. Just wanted to share this also. So, and this Adbhuta activities of the devotee is done through the holy name. And the holy name is the most wonderful thing which we have in this world. It is the most wonderful, but we take it too simple. Once a person asked Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, why do you and your disciple engage so much time in chanting the holy name? Your time should be spent in studying other things. Why do you engage so much time in chanting? And the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur replies, a child, for writing, he learns the alphabet, the letters. And he writes some initial words. But also a professor uses the same alphabet to write very, very deep topics and philosophies. So the same alphabet is used by the child for simple words, but also for the philosopher and professor for very, very high, deep topics. And the holy name is like that. The holy name is so wonderful. It brings from ABC to the most elevated, deepest level of Krishna consciousness. The holy name takes you from the ABC, from purifying our heart to understanding that we are not the body, to understanding that we are the servant of Krishna, and ultimately to understanding all Krishna's very, very highly elevated pastimes. The same holy name can do this, and this is very wonderful. That's the depth of the holy name, which we don't take so granted. We think it's too simple, but it's the Yuga Dharma. It's not only Yuga Dharma, but it's that process which can give us the highest gift that is available in this universe, which is Krishna Prema, which is not available through many other processes. Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says, Kale Desha Niyama Nahi Sarva Siddhi Hoy. that the holy name is so simple, you don't have to care for kala, desha, niyama. Don't care for your time, the place where you are in, and the regulations. You can chant the holy name anytime, everywhere, without any regulation. The verse actually tells you you can chant while you are eating, while you are laying down. You can just chant the holy name whenever you want. There are no regulations. The holy name is so merciful that it is so available to us. Of course, the higher you go, we have some offenses we have to avoid and some regulations we follow. But the name itself, the chanting actually, to start, you don't have to consider. To chant certain mantras, they are regulations. Like the Gayatri mantra, there are some regulations. But chanting Krishna's name, there are no regulations. And that's Adbhuta. That's very wonderful. And we just make excuses to not chant the holy name. The Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also explains that Rupa Goswami, he gives the 67 limbs of devotional service, then of them the 5 most important ones, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says of these 5 important ones, chanting of the holy name is the most important, and actually all the other 4, they are complementary to the chanting, they are supporting the chanting. Murti Seva, Bhagavatam, listening to the Bhagavatam, Sadhu Sangha, and living in the Dham, they all have to be done with chanting of the holy name. Otherwise, there is no purpose or no. Of course, there is value, but actually the real value comes when we do this with chanting of the holy name. And sometimes we just think chanting is one process. There are also many other processes, and I can follow them. I can fully focus on deity worshipping. I can fully hear to lectures. I can fully dedicate my life to studying scriptures, to fully preaching and attending many seminars and workshops, and then think holy name is just one of these many activities. But this is not the case. All these other activities are here to complement the studying of the holy name. And we just try to grade the glories of the holy name. We want to put on a level which we want to give an estimate how glorious the chanting of the holy name is. But we cannot do it because the glories of chanting the holy name is unlimited. You cannot say this is the glories of the holy name and this is much better and this is much lower. Because one verse is there that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, if a person comes to you and says that millions of Aswamedha Yajna is equal to the chanting of the holy names, then he's an atheist. In this verse he says, you compare it to other processes, the other yajnas. But if you do this, you are an atheist, because chanting the holy name of the Lord, you cannot compare it to anything in this world. So we should be very careful not to do this. And we were speaking of wonder, adbhuta, wonderful activities of the devotees, and we saw they can do this because of the wonderful qualities of the holy name. And now there is also another question. Yudhishthira Maharaj was asked, and in it verse he actually uses the word acharyam. Adbhutam is wonderful in a positive way, with awe, adbhutam. Acharyam can mean in a positive and a negative way. He's asked what is the most surprising acharyam thing in this world, and he says most acharyam, surprising is, even though many people die, people still think they can live forever in this body. And he says that's the most acharyam. But there is even something more acharyam than this statement. And this is Kulashekar Alvar says in Mukundamala Stotra. What is even more acharyam? You have this nectar, holy name, We have this nectarian, precious value of the holy name, but instead, we drink the poison by speaking everything else. That's the most surprising thing. We have the holy name, but still we get bliss from speaking everything else except the holy name. That's the most Acharya. That we have the holy name, this most merciful form of the Lord, and if we still fail to take it up and again has to enter birth and death, then probably that's the most surprising and astonishing thing. You know, I think this is the disease also of today's time. We have so much kirtan and harikatha going on in the temple room, but we prefer to stay outside while this happens and speak all the other things. And I think this is the disease we have. We might prefer to be outside while harikatha and harikirtan is going inside. And then we wonder, after 5 years, after 10 years, maybe after 20 years, we wonder, why is there no change in my heart? Why is there no advancement in Krishna consciousness? But why you have to wonder? You have never taken up chanting of the holy name really seriously. The people who don't have Krishna consciousness, they are unfortunate. But what is most unfortunate is those people who have Krishna consciousness but don't take benefit of it. This is even more unfortunate. So therefore, we should value the wonderful qualities of the devotees, his activities, and the wonders of the holy name. Take this advantage that we can have from the holy name and make use of it and go back to Godhead. Thank you very much. This was some of my thoughts. If you have any things to share, welcome. Otherwise, wish you a good day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Nothing to. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your enlightening class. I had a few points, but yeah, I don't know. You can also ask just one now. So the first point was that actually, like, I see myself so much in this, that we had this discussion already. That I really don't take up the holy name so much, and to chant together is like difficult sometimes. But then you told me to focus, and I really find this explanation of yours is very important for us to see the importance of the holy name. So thank you so much for this explanation. And then one question is that in verse 13, as the first one, it is written how Priyavata is giving his daughter to marriage, right? And you were mentioning the importance of this movement really know how Rasashraya Rama Dasa. And like today it's not really practical anymore that the father is giving his daughter to marriage. So what is your opinion on that? Is that an important start, or can it also be adjusted?
Definitely it has to be adjusted to the times, because maybe we can simply say your parents are responsible, that you enter a proper grihastha life. But if the parents are not Krishna conscious, then the problem starts already. And so adjusted, definitely it has to be adjusted to times. And I think in the current situation, we should have, everyone should have a proper mentor, a proper person who he trusts, and the person knows very well yourself. Such a person is really required in our life, a mentor that knows your nature, and your tendencies and your talents, etc., so that that person also can guide you. I would not recommend to enter Grihastha ashram on our own decisions, on our own whims, because I think when the romance lights are on, you cannot think properly, and then you make anyways the wrong decision. So anyway, this is very important that external people decide how you enter Grihastha life. And I think the movement should cultivate many nice mentors and ideal Grihasthas, senior Grihasthas who can help the juniors to take this step up. And then when the movement starts and the Grihastha ashram is also establishing, then I think that the next generation should become responsible, proper fathers and mothers, that they can help their children to take their next step. That's my hope. Sure, yeah.
So you were mentioning that actually all the problems start if we don't chant, or if we chant the holy name, every problem is solved. And I was reflecting before on what is actually the root cause of all problems, and I came to the conclusion that it is that we separate ourselves, and if we reconnect with Krishna, then actually all the problems will be solved. So this reconnection, of course, takes place when we chant the name in the highest way. So is like also in your opinion?
Exactly. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. The root cause is, you said, we are disconnected because we don't know where we have to connect, and our heart is covered with illusions and designations. And of course, theoretically, we can now say, I am not this body, I'm a spirit soul, this is not my mind, I'm not my mind, I'm not my thoughts, etc. But to practically understand, you have to really feel that you are a servant of Krishna. And to really understand you are the servant of Krishna is the way through the holy name. Because the holy name is what? You chant, Krishna, please engage me in your service. And the holy name at the end makes the purification of the mirror, of the dusty mirror in our heart. All the other philosophies, they are right. Of course, jnana can help. But just jnana is not in itself enough. Even Mayavadis have jnana. Even other people, even sattvic people have jnana. And I'm just recently also interested in some Stoicism. I think these people of that time, they also had very similar Vedanta philosophies, and they understand, don't just depend on your mind, on your thoughts, just try to understand who yourself are. But just jnana and sattva itself is not enough, because the other part, the reconnecting, is missing. The reconnecting to the right source. And the reconnection to the right source only happens through the holy name, where you understand that you are a servant of Krishna. Okay. Then Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai, Rasashraya Rama ki, Jai. Super nice Klasse. Schön. Gut.
Mm-hmm.